All right, so I wrapped up at the garage a couple hours ago. I know what you're thinking. This is a strange place to start an episode, and you're not wrong. But see, tonight we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna take a trip across a neighborhood and show you somebody else's story for a change. Introduce you to something that's outside of our wheelhouse, but a story that we're passionate about nevertheless. We're gonna get in the truck right now, and we're gonna go take a ride over to our friend's shop in Bushwick. And honestly, if you weren't coming along for the ride, this is somewhere that you would never find on your own. Kind of the whole reason we're telling you this story in the first place. So tonight's gonna be the first episode in a series we're rolling out here at the Curb Cut. And borrowing a name from a thing that all of us New Yorkers are pretty familiar with, something we deal with on a very regular basis, tonight we're going alternate side. All right, so we're on our way to Bushwick to go visit my buddy Diego. And actually, I met Diego over the summer at one of our block parties, and he actually parked his car around the corner. And, you know, we chopped it up on foot about how he's a neighbor and keeps a car in the neighborhood. And that was it for a few months. Then he hit me up one night and was like, hey, man, you know, I'm putting this motor together, and I was wondering if you'd come by and take a look, you know, give me some advice on where to go with it. I said, yeah, man, absolutely. You know, send me the address. I'll come by one night when I close up the garage. Where that trip took me just kind of blew me away because, I mean, it's a fucking trip. And it's exactly what I'm talking about when I say that the resourcefulness and ingenuity of the New York tuner is completely unmatched. It is the perfect example of what it is about New York tuning that is so special to me and guys like us that figure out how to get it done. All right, so here we are underneath one of the many converted loft buildings in Bushwick in what looks like a glorified storage facility to me, Diego. Where are we at here?
Well, you know, this is my workspace slash parking spot here in Bushwick. I mean, I actually used to live here, so.
Did you have this when you lived here, or this is something you found out about later?
No, like actually, I found out later. I moved, and then I actually got the space after I moved to like 2 blocks from here. So it's not too far.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, it's funny. You pull into this place and then there's this isolated car underneath the cover. I mean, is anybody else doing stuff like this down here? I mean, this is kind of like a sequestered little thing you got
Yeah, I mean,
for
it's
yourself.
pretty funny because when I used to live here, it was kind of annoying, you know, because people have a lot of motorcycles here. So they're always revving, they're always doing all this kind of stuff, but nothing car related or motorcycles. And all these storage units, they're pretty much all filled with bikes all over. And the second floor too, it's 2 floors here, so.
So you just figure, all right, I'll improvise and make it work for me.
Yeah, exactly.
With a car that's really no bigger than a couple of motorcycles to begin with, so.
Yeah.
So have you always been finding like little places to work on the sly? Has it always been like this for you, or what?
Yeah, I mean, personally, just like the way my life has been, I've always kind of had to find the way to work on a car, it being, you know, behind a parking lot at a Walmart or something.
Right.
Or, you know, but I've never personally had a garage to work in a car. So I kind of got to be a pro at finding a spot to where to work on my car.
Yeah, and now this is like a strategic step up.
Yeah, I mean,
having a roof over your head.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, my first boss, you know, I used to work from home, but he had an office. He worked there by himself. And when I first got the car and I did like some huge, you know, changes to the engine, I asked him if I could borrow the space. He actually let me pull into his office, you know, to like make a huge mess and stuff, which is kind of weird, you know, because I didn't have the spot, so it's pretty cool.
So a long history of always making it work for yourself has now gotten you to a point where you're really making it work for yourself and getting some real shit done. Yeah, yeah.
Finally I can say that, you know, I have a spot where I can park my car, nobody's gonna take it.
Yeah.
And I also have my own, like, you know, area where I can work on my side projects and stuff,
which we'll be getting to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to you know, ignore this thing here. I mean, we should show everybody what we got under here, what we're talking about.
For sure, for sure.
It's a Honda Civic. What are we looking at here, Diego?
All right, well, it's actually an '83 Volkswagen Rabbit. It's the LS Custom. They call them, you know, late Westies. They actually had, you know, the square fronts that nobody really likes. Everybody hates the square fronts. So I did the Euro conversion, or, you know, earlier conversion to it. It's my baby.
I mean, it's a cherry, man. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one this clean in person before. I mean, this is like, to be in the city too, is just, this is a treat.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm fairly new to New York. I've been here for 3 years. I just moved the car up. I parked the car when I first moved to New York. I parked the car in my aunt's garage, you know, for 2 years. And I always, that was my dream. I was like, you know, every day I'm like, I miss my car. And I finally got I got it up here, which is great. And here it is, you know, working on it little by little.
But there's no motor in this thing right now, right?
There is.
The stock motor's still in here?
Yeah, it's a 1.6 diesel. It's actually funny, every time you go to the gas station, you know, you're like, can I get $5 on number one? And they're like, number one's diesel, and you're like, well, yeah, I know it's diesel. You know, it's like, it's pretty sweet. I put $5, it lasts me like a month. But, you know, you're on the highway going 55, the whole thing is shaking, and you need that fifth gear. You know, I only have 4 on here, and the power is just, it's not fun to drive. It's cool for the city, but nothing else.
All right, so you got the diesel in here. What do you got in the shed?
I actually just picked up a 1.8 16 valve from a GTI from a later generation. I believe it's a Mark II GTI. It was on, you know, hoping to get it on carburetors, which I just purchased.
Hey, you can wind some good power out of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's not gonna be a race car. I just want something clean, something that's reliable. You know, like the diesel. This thing will never die, but it's just not as fun to drive. You know, like you can't take it out and go to the mountains or something, do fun stuff with it. So, just a little bit more power should be much better.
All right, yeah. So how about we move into the other leg of your workshop here and see what else we got going on.
For sure. All right, this is it. Welcome.
All right, so here we are in your workshop, storage space.
Container.
Yeah, your container. Yeah, for sure. You have a container mate?
Yeah. I mean, he's my old roommate when I used to live upstairs. You know, this spot opened up, and we're like, dude, we have to get it. You know, because he's actually doing chess sets out of concrete. So he's here, you know, like molding stuff and sanding things. So it's pretty cool. And
putting all that dust in the air for your motor build.
Yeah, that's why I have all this. These plastic bags to, you know, cover everything, and of course it cuts the cost in half, which is tremendous here in New York. You know?
100%. So I personally never looked at a storage space in the city and thought like, oh, I could build a car in there. And this is a trick, dude. This is cool.
Yeah, and like I said, all these other people here, they have, you know, there's only, I don't know, 7 of these big ones. The other ones are, you know, not even a quarter of the size of this. Yeah. And all these people have motorcycles in there, so they actually have like shops, which is great. It's pretty cool. Whenever you need something, you need a hand, you have people working here kind of full time doing their own thing, so.
You're building basically the most appropriate motors for a space this size. You know, it's a 1.8 liter. It's not like you're building big V8s in here and you're stumbling over your parts. Do you find that like the atmosphere you're working in and the place you're at and the means you have is kind of working itself into the DNA of the build itself?
That wasn't my intention, and it just kind of happened to happen that way, and I'm actually very happy because there is not a lot of space, you know. Actually, I used to have all these car parts in my loft where I live now, 2 blocks away, and they're all on the 2nd floor, and my wife is trying to kill me, you know. It's like, get these things out of here. Right. It's manageable. I don't know. I mean, I've always been attracted to Volkswagens. It's not like, oh, I built it because it was a small engine or anything like that. but it just works to my favor, and I think that that's great.
It just sort of everything sort of falls neatly into place and works out the right way.
You know, and it's not just with engines. It's kind of like how I see my life. Everything has been falling into place as I go. I don't search for anything. It just kind of fits as I go, and you know, knock on wood, it keeps going that way. It's hard, you know. Like, you know, you have to deal with other people sharing the space. You know, it's not cheap and all this stuff, but you have to make it work if you have the passion for it. This actually is toolbox. I bought it on Craigslist, and I had it tied to the wall, you know, with a chain, so nobody would take it. And that was my garage, and I used to, you know, unchain it, bring it out to the car where you saw it, and work on the car out there.
So before this was your garage, that was your garage?
Literally, this was my garage.
Onward and upward. This is, all right, no.
So like all the stuff that you see, like, you know, all my tools, everything was in there. You just kind of throw it in.
So your accent, you're Irish. That's what I'm getting here?
No, right. I bought it like this. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's cool. You just kind of progressed into it. And also, you know, as I told you guys with this, I'm doing some furniture stuff. It helps as that I can do my hobbies and also do my side gig, my side hustle. So
yeah, for sure.
It helps. So that's a way to tell my wife, you know, it's not just for the car, it's also for the for the storage.
If you have the ambition to really do this, and it's something you want, the way it takes shape and, you know, gains momentum, it really does kind of snowball based on how much you want it.
100%.
Before you know it,
100%.
You've got a full engine rebuild going on in the storage space.
I never thought, like, first of all, I got the parking spot, and I had it for a couple months, and I was like, okay, I've always wanted to do this engine, you know, rebuild, refresh, and I was like, yeah, but I don't have the space, you know. I was working from a little toolbox outside. So I saw this Craigslist, you know, post for engines and whatever, and I'm like, I want to do it. And then out of nowhere, you kind of just find it in yourself. You start hustling more, you know, you start another side gig, you start doing other stuff. And all of a sudden, I have a space. And the next weekend, I'm like, I'm gonna go pick up an engine in, you know, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. So much goes into making it work that what comes out of it is that much more inspired and considered and thought out. It's not a straight shot to success, you know? So it's like, to really sort of get your ducks in a row and make it kind of happen in time, I mean, this is where you're at. I mean, like, seeing it come together like this, just where I'm at here, I know how this is coming together. That car is gonna be fucking sick because it's coming together like this.
I appreciate it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the sweat, blood, tears, you know, of how am I gonna make it? What am I gonna be able to pay for it? And this is like on a personal level, but when I first moved here, coming from Florida, you know, people were always like, oh, you know, like, what kind of car do you drive? It was so superficial, always, you know, like Boca Raton, Florida, oh, whatever. And then you come to Brooklyn, and the first thing you do when you come here, it's like, you meet someone, and they're like, how many jobs do you have? You know, like, how hard are you hustling? Mm-hmm. So it's very hard. It's you know, it's something different, something I didn't experience before, and I'm very happy to be living this thing. You know, I can say that I did it. If I don't stay in New York all my life, maybe, you know. And none of my friends have cars, you know, like everybody rides the subway, you know, like, you know, and the other thing, it's like old cars, you know, like when you see all these people have cars, but all the cars are new and they don't have the problems that we have with the rust and all this stuff that you got to tackle all the time and you have to be very aware of. Because it's just gonna rot away. So
yeah, but you know, it's funny. It's like when the hardest part of working on your car is just getting your mom to move her minivan out of the driveway so you can pull your fucking bag WRX up the lawn. It's like it's not gonna come together the same way that like a guy working 2 or 3 jobs to pay the rent on his storage facility, his car parts, his apartment, his wife. You know, a little more goes into chasing this here, and it builds and breeds something that's. Yeah, there's a lot of passion goes into making it all work.
Yeah, and you have to make it. I mean, if it's your passion, if it's what you love, you gotta find the way, or else what are you gonna do?
I know for me, it was never an option to not pursue cars in the city. It was it was always about how am I gonna have cars in the city?
For sure. I used to have a Mark V GTI, which is, you know, like it was an 08 GTI. And then that's when I was in Florida. And then my parents moved to Chile, and I sold the car. I kind of gave it away. I sold it for like $4,000 back then, you know? And then I was in Chile for a couple months, And I was like, I can't live here. You know, the mentality, everything it's just not the same. So I need to move back to the States. So I moved back, and the first thing I was like, am I gonna get a new car? I was just like, no, it's just, there's nothing there. You know, you go to these car shows and it's just not the same.
It's
like,
not talking to you.
It's just, you don't feel it. And so I decided to go for this old thing, which kind of brought me to, you know, it's like your little jewel that you have, and you want to have it with you all the time, and you're like attached to it. It's not just like another car, you know, you put wheels and bags on it and you call it a day. It's like
the same way that, you know, making ends meet and struggling to kind of make this all work for yourself is a survival story, really. Yeah. The thing that you kind of identify with in the spirit of the old car you own is kind of like you're letting this, you're facilitating a means for this thing to survive itself.
Yeah.
This old car needs something to happen to stay alive and stay in good shape. It needs to be rebuilt. It's kind of going through the same motions of you. Like, I find a real attachment to my cars, you know, sort of psychologically in that regard. It's like that thing is sort of going through the same trials and tribulations that I may be going through, and that car suits me, and that sort of struggle exists with me.
Yeah, and it's like it's you know, a never-ending project, and you're always working on it. You're always thinking about it, and like, how do we improve it? Not performance-wise, but like to keep it alive. You know, it's like, you know, always moving, and not just that. Like, not with the car, with pretty much everything around my life personally. You know, shooting film, all this, like, you know, I feel attracted to older stuff than new stuff.
All that being said, if you were to leave the city at some point, or, you know, your pursuits were to sort of relocate it or go somewhere else, you know, you buy yourself a house, you and your wife move. Do you feel like your relationship with the cars you're building is going to change? Do you feel like what you're currently involved in is actually directly related to where you're at, or what?
No, I mean, I don't think...
You're going to take that thing with you?
Yeah, like, I think this is my baby. I never plan on selling it. You know, that's a lot of people say that, but I don't plan on selling it. I mean, everything that you've seen in there has been done by me and some friends. You know, it's like there's like an emotional attachment to it. Painting the car, that's going to be the next big step after the engine and this whole thing. You know, I could have painted in Florida when I lived there or whatever, but now I'm in Brooklyn, like, looking for all these shops and asking people where I know nothing about. That's the circumstances that I'm in, and I kind of have to scavenge for new connections. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like the universe just brings the right people to you, and that's how I met you, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, I'm grateful for it, and it's awesome.
Hey, dude, I mean, the trajectory happens very quickly, as bad as you want it, and I mean, I'm really excited to see this thing take shape, man. I'm really psyched for you.
And thank you for being here and checking it out as we go.
Well, this isn't the last of it, man. I'm sure this is gonna. Yeah, we're gonna be back, and we're gonna be seeing this thing on the road in good time. So. You have to understand something about where we're at here. We live in a city that's constantly going through changes. Maybe it's a sign of the times, and I'm pretty sure plenty of others would chalk it up to some matter of gentrification or whatever. But here in New York City, we've seen far too many garages get converted into boutique coffee shops, yoga studios, CrossFit gyms, and all other sorts of bullshit. Basically, being a car guy around here does not come naturally, and it's never without its headaches. So again, for those of us chasing our car dreams in the city, it's stories like Diego's that keep us supremely motivated. A true keeper of the faith. Because there's something special about the spirit of ingenuity that New Yorkers have that you can't replicate anywhere else. And I've said it 1,000 times, but it's true. Honestly, it's rarely ever part of the recipe in other places. It's a secret ingredient around here. The flavor you only find in a place like New York. And for what it's worth, I'll never get enough of it. It gets stirred into the pot of everything we do around here. And I'm just glad that there's still people around here with enough taste to keep that aroma in the air for the rest of us. And whether it be a guy like myself who gravitates towards Japanese classics, or someone like Diego who's doing his best to make the Germans look good, the fact that we're building cars around here as neighbors is the thing that really gets us going, and that's what brings us together. That itself is the cool part for us. So as long as people like Diego are doing everything they can to make it happen, we're gonna keep doing it this way simply for the sake of doing it. There's truly nothing like it, especially when you're never too sure where it's hiding.